What's up, everybody? How you doing? Welcome back to the Punk Rock Review Podcast. I'm hanging out with Ron Conflict today. You would know him from bands such as Final Conflict, of course, and then Lower Class Brats, which is how we got to be talking in person. And then I saw you playing with Clit45, right, in the Punk Invasion.
I am the bassist of Clit45 as of a few months ago. Yeah.
That's freaking bananas, dude. I don't think you have near enough going on, man. You need to go find something to do because you sound like you're bored.
Oh yeah, I got to find like two other bands to play for. So because my head isn't big enough, like you know.
So you do booking, and you have a booking agency, a promotional company, right?
It's just a booking agency. We book tours. We book tours for punk, grindcore, metal, some punk folk bands. Like basically, if it's there's three of us right now. There's me, there's Jay Crash, and then there's Henry Yuan, and we work with what we want to work with the music that we like, with bands that we like. We don't our focus of to work with a band isn't like, oh, this band's going to be big, they're going to make a lot of money, or they're going to break. That's not our motivation. Our motivation is like how I even started booking tours was with Final Conflict. We set up a lot of our shows. Jeff Harp and we would set up our own gigs. We figured out the best way to get on shows with the bands that we liked was to set the show up ourselves. And that's what we did. I took that learning experience and then just kind of became the Final Conflict booking guy. Okay. And then friends would come into town and I'd set up the show. And as years went by, I just started having friends, bands go, hey man, when we come to LA, can you set up shows for us? Sure. I started doing that. And then I started doing kind of like a string. I would book bands from Arizona all the way up to the Pacific Northwest because I had all these connections. And then it just kind of came where one day a band was like, hey, when we tour, the only shows that we have that are good and well attended and we actually get paid fairly are the ones that you book for us. Could you book us a tour across the United States? And at that time I was working a job that I really wasn't suited for. I didn't like it. I was working A&R for a record label. And I was like, yeah, why not? And so that was over 20 years ago. And now I have a small team of people that work with me. Again, the motivation was just like, I'm going to work with my friends and make sure my friends don't get screwed over by promoters or unorganized people. And it's like with a lot of good DIY promoters out there, they don't book for money. They book for their love of the music. And so a lot of good DIY promoters only deal with the music they like. And they'll just say, hey, man, like I'll book your Wormrot show because I'm fully into grindcore, or I'll book Haggis. But yeah, Ron, I'll pass on LCB. It's just not my thing. And I'm okay with that because that's the thing. Follow your love, follow your passion. And that's with us. I mean, I'm a music fanatic. I grew up listening to music as a fan as young as like 4 years old and being fanatical about music. I bought my first 7-inch record at 4 years old. My mom used to take me every once a week. We'd go to this supermarket, like department store called the Treasury. It was basically the 70s version of Target. Okay. And I was allowed to pick 145 a week, and that's carried on until like this insane. This is only like 1/3 of my record collection back here.
Whoa, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, there's like a bunch back here, and then over that you can't see on the camera. There's even more. I'm pretty insufferable.
That's awesome.
But anyways, again, like I've loved music. I love almost all kinds of music. So someone will ask me like, what kind of music don't you like? And I'll go, modern country, all it is crap pop with a twang. And I'm not really a big fan of opera. I like some classical. I love soundtrack music and scores, especially a lot of the Italian maestros I love. But I'm just a music fanatic. So uh, at Crawl Space, like we're all pretty, like Henry's pretty much the metal guy, and he's very rigid about what he likes and what he'll work with. With me, I work with punk, hardcore, metal, grindcore, mincecore. So I book Cockspar, I book Negative Approach. I also book Bonginator and Haggis. So I'm all over the place. Jay works with Crazy in the Brains. He does the Coffin Cats and Escape from the Zoo. Jay's very much in the punk and pop punk genre.
Okay.
That's his thing, and he's very religious about it. We all are about our music taste. So I think it makes us really good at what we do. We try not to take things personal, but we do take, as far as like, we really love the bands that we work with and try to do our best for them. And I do think that because our motivations is always first based on, wow, I really dig this band, I want something good for them, something good to happen, helps us do our job a lot better than someone that goes, hey, yeah, this mincecore thing is really kind of taking off with the kids, man. Like, because you got to get it, you got to understand what the music, you can't just this isn't widgets, like, you want a widget, I'll sell you a widget. Like, you got to understand, you got to when you book the tour, you got to make sure the right bands are playing, you got to work with people who understand. And that's our main focus, is just working with what we love, not something. I don't give a shit about working with what's going to be the next big thing. I'm not, or else I would definitely, some of the bands that I could tell you that I've turned down working with, you'd go like, oh dude, you said no. Like, and they're not bad bands, it's just there's been times where I've had to turn down bands that I'm a fan of, because I'm just like, I love your band, but I'm not the guy. Like, what kind of agent you need, what direction you want to go, that's not my thing. That's going into territory I don't want to work with,
That's
and
important.
and I don't want to hold you back. There's been a few times like in that. There's even been a few times I picked up bands and it just didn't work. It was just like oil and water. And then we both kind of sat together and went, you know what? I think we both need to go our separate ways, because it's just not happening. It's like, for both of us, this has been an uphill climb, like getting any kind of level of success for you. And there's no hard feelings, like, we're not trying to cure cancer here. We're just booking, punk rock and hardcore shows. So,
Well, I mean, I started doing all the things that I do for the same reasons. It's if you don't have your heart in it, it's going to be real clear, real obvious very quickly. It probably was a good move to have other people working with you doing this that have other interests outside of your interests, because then you guys can still, as a team, help other bands or subgenres or whatever that maybe you don't necessarily care a whole lot about, but your buddy does. And you're like, no, if we have 3 people here, we can cover a lot more ground. And it's still like a genuine, it really is what we're doing, not some false front bullshit.
yeah. It's like with your record label, it's important, like, put out stuff that you believe in, that you like, that you're like, oh fuck, man, I love this band, I want people to find out about it. Like, I come from the days of mixtapes, made
Hell yeah.
mixtapes for so many friends. And what you're doing is like, you're a mixtape, you're a record label, and you go, hey, I've got this great record that I just released, I want you to hear it. Here, please check this out. I'm the same way. Like, I want these bands that I work with and that are out on the road, that to be someone's next favorite new band, and that needs to be your motivation. Like, any time I've talked to another booking agent that was like, man, wasn't into this band, but I had a feeling something was going to happen for it, it always ends up being a regretful thing. Or someone who one of my friends that's put out and I Crawl Space Booking, my agency, originally was a record label, put out a split release with Dystopia when they put out their first full length. We helped to do that with them. I put out records by a band called Gehenna, a notoriously crazy hardcore band called Gehenna from Reno. Put out in a We Talk as well. And then we did an offshoot, me and my friend, and we put out another band's record who ended up becoming quite successful as an indie rock band, but we didn't put it out on Crawl Space. You know, but the thing was, is just work with and put out what you love. That's really important. I talked to guys that were like, man, this band, I just had a feeling they were going to break big. It wasn't my thing. And then I got involved with them, and man, what a waste of my time it was. Cause you know, it's always the story that the band was a bunch of jerks, or the people around them were a bunch of jerks. And he goes, and now I'm sitting with like 2,000 vinyl copies of their record that I can't sell because these guys couldn't get along. They weren't very nice. And, you know, but it always ends up was their main motivation was to just have a successful record, not, you know, make money, not, hey, this band is great. I think what they're doing is great. I want people to know this exists, you know.
Well,
it's just good to be part of the story, man.
Right.
Know?
Right. Well, I've said from day one, my goal isn't necessarily to make any money. I would prefer to not lose a bunch of money, but I'm only going to put out records that I want to listen to. If I don't like it, I don't want to put it out. And you know, we've got, I think 16 under my belt now, which isn't, you know, a gigantic number, but it's enough to know like, okay.
No, that's a respectful number of releases to do.
Well, I now know kind of what I'm doing. I know who I really like. I know I have groups of people that I want to work with that are like, okay, well, this dude's involved with this. I'm probably interested because I know him and I like him. And you know, if you're putting out stuff or working with bands solely to make money, you're probably going to be disappointed way more often than you won't be, because it is all about money. And if it's all about money, then you have a lot of ways to fail at that. And if it's just to do it, there's a lot of ways to succeed at that. And I was just proud to have my label on something. Oh, that's my logo. That's on this guy's record. That's badass. Like, that makes me happy. So that's cool.
Yeah. No, yeah. And that's exactly, you know, it, you know, again, that's like that's what I learned from punk rock, was doing what you love. And I've been lucky to have, like, I have a punk rock job, you know, like,
right.
I book tours for punk, hardcore, and grindcore bands. And even like, you know, even my metal bands, a lot of them have very punk rock ethics as far as like the way they do business, or and who they want to do business with. I've got flat out death metal bands that have said, we don't want to play with bands that are like overly sexist. Or I've had one, I remember one band calling and going, hey, this band is going to probably be blowing you up about touring with us. We never want to tour with that band because this band is like overly racist and blah, blah, blah. And we don't, fuck that, man, you know. And it's like, I'm like, fuck yeah, man, like, this is cool. Like, just reinforce why I'm working with you, like having a pair and putting, you know, people over profits, you know. So
right now metal is more than ever blending with punk rock as far as like the way we believe things, the way we do our shows, tours, merchandise, lyrical content, your character. It's all blended together more now than ever. I mean, there used to be a real thick fat line and went, you know, metal, punk, one on either side. Man, you can't tell the difference sometimes. And I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I do. I think that, you know, I think you should be able, you know, I've always been that way, even as a young kid, like getting into punk, you know. And like, I remember having a Judas Priest sticker on my folder in high school. You know, I was very much a punk rock kid then, you know, like got Black Flag written on my shoes and shit. And I remember someone going, metalhead guy going, you can't have, you know, Judas Priest sticker on your folder. You're a punk rocker. And I was like, yeah, I can, because I'm punk. I do what I want, you know. And it was like,
yeah.
And I've always like, I even got like more into metal after becoming more like, hey, you know what? This punk thing's rad. I'm a punk rocker. I can relate. I finally found my place, you know, and just going, yeah, I don't care. I don't care if you don't like it. I like this. That's my, you know, that's cool. You can hate heavy metal. You can hate, you know, whatever. I'm going to do what I want. I'm listening to what I want. Cause again, I'm a music fan first and foremost, you know. I'm a punk. You know, if I got to identify anything, yeah, I identify as a punk. You know, and it's funny because when I'm doing my day job, sometimes there's like certain people that I'll work with, other managers and stuff, and they don't know me. They know me as Ron, the guy who's booking this metal band or whatever. They don't know like that I have got this history in punk and being in this like, you know, 80s, you know, political punk rock band. And you know, they don't know. And then sometimes it'll come up. I go, well, you know, man, I'm a punk kid. I grew up, you know, and they're like, oh, really? You know, and they're like, I'm like, yeah, I go, but you know, I saw Slayer play a sold out show to 250 people for $8, you know, in
Hell yeah.
1985. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, but I also saw Minor Threat in 1983, you know, like, I'm you know, not closing my mind off to music, create, you know, I was able to get to see a lot of rad shows throughout my history. And sometimes like even some of my metal bands, I blow their mind because I'll go, oh man, let me tell you about like the first time like Venom came to like like played in LA and you know who opened up and they're just like, fuck, you know, or I'll be like I grew up in Orange County, California, and I'll be like, man, first time Motorhead ever played Orange County was on the tour for Another Perfect Day, and they played Billy Barty's Roller Fantasy roller rink. No,
Holy crap.
like yeah, they played a fucking roller rink, you know. And another fun fact: New Order played their first show in Southern California. I think it was before LA at the same place.
What? That is
At
crazy.
Billy Barty's Roller Fantasy. And this was in like when Blue Monday was like a kind of only a hit, very small hit, you know, on the radio out here in LA. And like, yeah, it was the only two shows that ever happened at that place.
Shout out roller rinks, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah, because I think it was the Motorhead was the last one because there were so many fights because there was like bikers and punks and skinheads and it was like really fucking violent. And I think they just was like, yeah, no more. And then eventually the roller rink closed down. So, yeah, interesting. Like I say, those are like the cool stories I can tell, you know, because I've been around and been fortunate enough to see like crazy shows like that. Like when Lower Class Brats, we just went to did a short tour in Europe, and we played this awesome festival in Belgium with the Cockney Rejects and with Aura Noir. Like Aura Noir, this like super group black metal band, amazing. Nice. And the Cockney Rejects lineup right now is like a superstar lineup. They've got Olga from the Toy Dolls on guitar. They've got Jeff Stinky Turner, the original vocalist, is singing. They've got JJ Chaos from Brain Dance on bass. And then the drummer is Ray, who was in like The Business and tons. They're like punk rock supergroup, and they sound fucking amazing. Like they're coming to the United States. You've got to go see the Rejects. Okay, so anyways, I'm chatting with Olga, and I tell him like, dude, it's so great to meet you. Like the first time I ever saw you, you guys played at the Concert Factory in Costa Mesa in like 1983 with my friend's band Love Canal and Bob, and he was just like, oh my God, like I haven't even thought about that show in a long time. He's like, wow, wait a minute, do I remember that show? You know, like, and that's like one of the cool things about being in a like being able to play and getting to meet like punk rock heroes that are really cool. Like sometimes, you know, there's that story that like try not to meet your heroes because you might end up being disappointed.
Right.
That's happened a few times, but more often than not, meeting some of the bigger punk guys is always end up being like to see how cool and humble they are, you know, like and kind they can be. Like guys in like GBH are like the textbook definition of a punk rock band on so many levels, especially the way they treat the bands that they tour with. Nice. Like I was in this hardcore band for a while called 46 Short. We ended up doing 3 shows with GBH, and the way they treated us, they treated every band on their tour like they were a headliner. And I was like, this is how it's done. This is punk as fuck, but this is how it's done. And with the Brats and even with Final Conflict, I make sure that when we're like a headliner, that we treat the support bands and not be to try to be as kind and as cool as you can be. Because
Right.
if GBH, who are fucking legends, can do that, my piddly ass bands that I play in could do that. Like there's no excuse not to, you know. Try not to be prima donnas or anything like that. Like there's always exceptions. Like actually, like the played a Clit45 show just a few weeks ago in outside of Philly, and when we play festivals, I always try to be at the festival as long as possible and see every band, or at least a portion. But man, like I took a red eye flight to do that show. I was like operating on no sleep. And I ended up not even getting to the show till about 90 minutes before we played to the fest. I felt like an asshole because that's kind of, I don't like being that guy. I hate being that headliner that only shows up when it's time to play and doesn't like watch any of the bands. But, you know, in the years that I've done it, I've only had this happen a couple times. So I guess I'm okay, you know, but I felt pretty bad, you know, like, man, this show's been going on for like 5 hours and I'm only here for like, you know, 1 hour of like a little over an hour of me not playing and then the rest of me playing, you know. Try not to do that too much.
From like a fan's perspective, I don't think there's going to be any like negativity given towards people that do that. But when you are there all the time and you're there early, there's a lot of credit given for that. So like I know people appreciate when they see you walk around, oh, what's up, Ron? I mean, I ran into you just hanging out in a stairwell. Like we were just like hanging out at that club. I mean, it's nice to just be able to be around.
And you were, it's so funny because you were so like, I know you're busy, dude. And like, like you were trying to get away from me almost, like you were like worried you were going to eat up like my valuable fucking time.
I always feel like I'm bothering people, dude.
Like, fuck, man, like if I stop you, I'll let you know when we're done talking, you know,
For
or if
sure,
I gotta
for
go.
sure.
Like I got no problem with saying, hey man, I gotta go.
Right,
Or hey
right.
man, you're really drunk. You're not making any sense. I'm getting the fuck out of here. You know,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
there's been times that somebody could tell you, like, I've been around people and they're just like they're just insanely drunk, and they've told me the same thing like 3 times in a row, and I'll just go, nope. And I just take off because I'm like, look, they're drunk, they're having a good time, they're not going to remember this, you know, like I'm going to get out of here.
That's a good point too. They aren't going to remember, just as long as you're not a real big crucial prick.
Just be nice. just try to be nice. If someone giving you niceness, give them nice back, but just go away. They won't remember. They'll remember you not being kind, you know.
Right.
But yeah, like I try to, you know, I try to be as cool and give everybody that, you know, has come to our show like time to talk and stuff, like because I know what it's like. I know what it's like when I was young and I went to shows. I remember one of the first, like my first year of going to shows, I went to go see Channel 3 at this venue in Santa Ana, and there I'm like, you know, walk out of the bathroom and there's Mike McGran like right in front of me, and I was just like this, you know, nervous 16-year-old kid, like, you guys rule so hard, you know? And he was, and it stuck with me for years how cool he was to me, and like, thanks, man, what's your name, you know, and all that. And Mike and I are friends. We've actually worked together many times. The drummer Nick of Final Conflict is in Channel 3. I got them connected. And like, you know, I'll, you know, I'm not even sure if Mike remembers that, you know, like, but I'll never forget how cool he was. And he's still the same. Him and Kim, all those guys in Channel 3 are like, and Anthony, they're the coolest dudes. Like, they're not, you know, hanging out in the green room all night at their show. They're like saying hi, you know, hanging out with people. Like, you know, there's something to be said that there's nice to be able to get away and be in your little green room or your backstage, you know, a little bit. But when 90% of the time we play a show, I'm doing a gig, I watch at least 2 songs of every band on the gig, you know? So, you know, out of respect, and like, also like, if it's a friend of mine's band, you know, it's so I can just go and like, give him shit later. Like, oh yeah, that song you did, the one with the guitar. Yeah, you totally blew it out your ass, like, but no, it's like a band I've never seen. I want to see what they're about. And like, oh wow, that's good, or that band's not too good, but you know what? They're up there. They're trying. And you know what? Maybe in a month or so, they're going to nail this,
That's an incredibly legitimate statement, man. Being up there takes so much courage. Like,
yeah.
Like whenever people, one of the coolest things about having a channel is I get sent a lot of stuff to review. It's like a double-edged sword though, because like at the same time I get sent so much stuff now that I can't review it all. But I really hate it when I pick something out to review and I don't have anything positive to say. I won't even do the review because I'm like, I don't want to just shit on somebody unless I might email them and go, hey, here's some pointers. This is my thoughts. But I'm not going to put up a video just thrashing them, like, unless I absolutely have to. Like, I really try not to do that, man.
No, that's right. Then that's good. Like it is. If you don't have nothing nice to say, you shouldn't be trashing them. And maybe the next release will be better,
right.
And it's that's kind of the same thing. Like there's different levels, like there's sometimes it's like there's plenty of bands I'm not into what they do, but I'm not going to say they suck.
Right.
Because I've seen plenty of bands that are like, no, they're fucking good. They're tight as hell. It's just not my thing. I don't, but they're a good band. It's just not what I'm into. And then there's been plenty of times where I'll see a band that I'm like totally into and they're sloppy as shit, you know? And I'm just like, oh, these guys just don't give a fuck. And they're just going for it and they're having a good time. And they do not care if anybody likes what they're doing. Fuck yeah.
I can respect that.
Like, so, opinions, it's all relevant. It's all relative, like it's no different where it's like, there's someone that goes, I would not pay $100 to see this band, but I'd pay $200 to go see this band. It's all relative.
Yeah, that's a really silly statement because it's like there's definitely people that wouldn't pay anything to see that band. You're talking about $200.
Yeah, like I mean, shit, dude. Like, I went to go see Iron Maiden. I told my buddy, just get me the ticket. I love Iron Maiden. Who knows how much longer they're going to go in play. So just make it happen. And he did. And then he was like, when it came time and I was like, oh man, what do I owe you for that Iron Maiden ticket? And he goes, $320. And I'm like, $320?
Golly.
And
That's
he goes, lot. Yeah. He goes, and he has a look on his face like, oh shit, did I just buy something that Ron can't afford or pay that much for? And I was like, no, dude, like, oh, that's how much the ticket was, like not like scalped or anything like that. Just like, he goes, yeah, dude, straight up, they were $300 ticket. Now they were awesome fucking seats. We were so close. We didn't even need to look at the screens, Okay,
well that's pretty cool. That might be worth a little bit more money.
And I was just like, fuck, man, I get to see so many shows for free sometimes. Like, so if I gotta pay to see Iron Maiden, a band that I want to see, fuck, $320. I was like Venmo'd in right away. I wasn't like, oh God, like looks like it's top ramen for the next 2 weeks, like, no, I was okay with, like I said, it's all relative. And but again, like who knows how much longer you're gonna see Iron Maiden. It was definitely the amount of special effects they did and shit. Yeah, $320. I knew where the money went.
Right.
But it's all relative. And they're so fucking good still too, man. They're so good. Like if you like Iron Maiden, they're still amazing live, because there's plenty of bands that like I'm a big fan of, but they're still playing and they really shouldn't.
There's a lot of that.
Yeah, like I mean, a good example of someone that I'll talk shit because I'm a lifelong fan. I love Kiss. I love early Kiss. Kiss is the band that made me and Bones and Marty want to be like the Brats. Like we're big Kiss fanatics. But man, the last fucking few years of them performing, I mean, Paul Stanley's voice the dude's like, his voice finally couldn't hit those notes. And it was just kind of, guys, come on, man.
Look at Axl Rose, bro.
I actually haven't watched any like modern footage or anything like that.
Oh, it's rough.
Yeah, okay. I mean, it's hard to be singing in that
with
range,
with
man,
all
and
respect, I
to
couldn't
be
do
in
it to
your
begin with.
50s and still hit that thing. Yeah, it's you know, yeah. I actually was fortunate to get to see a lot of Guns N' Roses club shows in the early
Nice.
days,
That is
and
fortunate.
mind blowing, dude. Like they were a punk rock, hard rock band, like the perfect combination, and really had a like middle finger attitude, and
I feel like that's a good
probably one of the
descriptive.
greatest one of the top live shows I've ever seen were Guns N' Roses club performances. I never
Really?
saw them when they broke big. I just saw them as like when they were headlining as a popular local band.
Okay. Well, they had a feeling of like, same with like Motorhead. They have like an attitude of punk rock within like a more of like a, if hair metal was gonna have a punk cousin, it would be Motorhead and Guns N' Roses. Like to me.
Yeah, no. I mean,
But
in really, like both of them were straight up rock and roll bands. They weren't
right.
heavy metal. Like, I mean, the popularity of
Valid.
Guns N' Roses completely crushed the hair metal scene. It destroyed it because every band that wasn't as hard sounding as that just got made fun of, and it washed away. Then Nirvana came, and the second, the big wave of punk came and then destroyed all of that. So
Thank
like,
goodness.
and a lot of people try to credit Green Day and like Rancid and Nirvana for destroying hair metal, but it really wasn't. It was Guns N' Roses was the first death knell. Like it was like, hey, you think you rock? If you're not doing what these guys are doing it the way they're doing it, you're nothing.
Well,
Like
even their ballads were like kind of tough. Like
yeah,
November Rain is like a beautiful song, but it's like it's got some cojones, man. Like that song is, it's a tough song for a beautiful song. You don't have like,
yeah.
it's not all about like, I don't know, man. I'm not trying to shit on Poison, dude. Do your thing, guys. Like that shit is just like every song is just so frilly and fluffy. I'm like, I don't know balls in this music. I need my stuff to have some testosterone
They
running
were
through it.
definitely like bands like Poison were more pop than hard
Right.
rock,
That's a valid, that's a good way to say it. They were more pop than they were hard rock. Um
Hey, hold on one second.
yeah.
I just realized that I left my turntable on and it's making all this noise. Hold on.
No, you're good. What kind of turntable you got?
I've got a MoFi.
I know MoFi.
It's the Mobile Fidelity company that does all
Yeah.
those audiophile pressings.
Yeah.
They
I
make
didn't know they
turntables.
made I didn't know they made turntables. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I got a MoFi. I don't do drugs. I spend my money on vinyl gear.
I mean, I'm 12 years sober almost, and I'm in the exact same position. I'm like, I don't do drugs now, but I'm an addict still. Like I can't help but buy music, and I mean, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. You help a lot of people when you buy music.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
You're not hurting anyone or yourself, and you're helping somebody. So
on the same topic as Iron Maiden tickets, I spent a lot of money to go see Coxbar for Punk Rock Bowling, and I'm telling you, dude, I'm so excited. Like I've never got to see them play, and I've always liked them. They were probably the first like real oi band I ever liked. Didn't realize it wasn't anything other than, I remember I had some street punk friends that this girl Jay always wore a Coxbar shirt, and I was like, who is that band? I looked, I think I might have got a CD or something at one point, and I was like, oh, I like this. It's like music I can relate to, but it's not as like crazy as maybe the Casualties or something. And so I wanted something a little more calm. I'd listen to that. I really, really love that band, and I never got to see him play. So, anyways, I'm very excited about.
You've never seen them yet.
Nope.
Oh, okay? They're like they're one of those bands again. Like I remember being 16 and listening to the Shock Troops, and they had broken up already again for the second time, and I'm like, I'm never gonna see this band, man. This sucks, man. This band's so good. I'm never gonna see them. And here I am, an adult, and I'm their booking agent. And
oh wow,
yeah,
that's cool.
I've been working.
I think you mentioned that earlier. That's
amazing. I've been working with them for a good amount of time, and like
that's absurd.
Over 10 years now. But yeah, like to anybody that's watching this, so if you live in the United States, these are not the final Coxbar shows as a band, but they are going to be the final American shows.
That's crazy.
If they come, we book you. They come to your town. You got to go and see them because after this next year, probably they might do some shows in the United States in 2026. We're discussing it, but they're not going to do this thing where like the final show and then pull a Kiss and then 5 years later they're back. That ain't happening.
Right. Well, they're also not young men anymore.
They're not young men.
So like,
and they're not breaking up. They're just like coming to the United States costs so much money. Like not just in flights to get the visas, like the visas alone for a band can run anywhere from $7,000 to $10,000. That's just to get the legal right to come and play here. Okay.
I don't understand that shit, man.
And you don't have to deal with it anywhere else in the world like that it's that costly and it's many hoops to jump through. We could do an interview that seriously would be 2 hours long of me just discussing the process. Okay. But like,
one of these days we should do that if you have the time.
It's ridiculous, like what we have to do. Like I just did it with Wormrot to get them in the country. It's very costly. The cheapest you get away with it is about $6,400. And again, that's just to get the visas that say, hey, we're allowing you to come in and come and perform and make money. Then the IRS gets involved and says, hey, whatever you're paying this artist, you've got to withhold 30% of that and send it to us. They send that to the promoter. So let's say a band is getting paid $10,000. Well, that promoter has to take $3,000 and send that to the IRS. You've got to get CWA accountants. It's so
a lot.
boring but it's the only way it can be done to do it so the band can get into the country. There's bands that can sneak in, but when you're a band that is really popular and you could put that person's name in Google and it automatically goes to the band, you're not getting in. Like, there's plenty of punk bands that have come in the United States and they come in, with no instruments and stuff. They do it and good.
Right.
Please come here. And a lot of bands do. Some of my friends have. But when you're in a band like, a band as big as GBH, a band like The Exploited, a band like Coxbar, they're getting visas. And it's just, and again, the Coxbar guys are, in their 60s. And the traveling over here takes a lot. So this is going to be the last American shows. Because when they go and play Europe, it's like a 3-hour flight for them from the UK, and then boom, they land. They don't have to bother with expensive visas. Like when the lower class brats, when we went and played Rebellion Fest, we actually did our visas with this visa company online, just filled out a couple page questionnaire, sent them like $125, and then we got our approval. And then we each had, when we came into customs, we had a piece of paper. Yes, I'm here to play Rebellion Fest. Here's my visa. No problem. But it is the exact opposite coming in the United States. It is a crazy, crazy process. It's incredibly expensive. And it's why a lot of bands don't get to come out here, because it's just not as simple as buying a flight and having someone book your shows. It's nuts. And it's, as much as I would like to talk shit on the Trump administration in regards to this, so far haven't really had any changes yet, like in the process. It's still time consuming, it's still ultra expensive, but that's got nothing to do with the Trump administration. I think that with time it'll be more complicated, because things will take longer to get done, because with the Doge, and they're cutting all these departments left and right.
Oh, dude, yeah, it's a whole. I don't want to get into that conversation. Really,
let's not.
But we're in a hot mess right now. But so something you mentioned earlier that I've only heard the term, I think, twice in my life. What is mincecore? I've heard that at my shop like 2 times now. People have asked me about mincecore. I don't know what it is.
Well, I don't know if they started it, but it's the band Haggis, and there's a few other ones, but it's basically like an offshoot of death metal, death metal and grindcore. The songs are really short, and the vocals can sometimes sound like a cross between a squealing pig and a fork caught in a garbage disposal. And you know that really like high end like sound?
Yeah.
And it's a human voice doing it. And one of the reasons why I like it so much is it's like, you know, as time goes on, like look, when the Dead Kennedys came out, people like, oh my God, that how dare they call themselves the Dead Kennedys? How shocking, you know? And then a few years later, DRI comes out and they're fast as hell, and everyone went, oh my God, how they're too fast. DRI's too fast. And then Napalm Death comes and music like hardcore gets more and more extreme. Mincecore is like extreme music.
Okay.
But it does have a method to the madness, and that's what I like about it. I like music like that is transgressive and especially now more than ever, as people are trying to make things more conservative. We have a government that's trying to do that, and we have these idiots that go and say conservatives the new punk.
Oh
Fuck
my goodness.
you. Anybody who says that, fuck you. Okay. You're cute, but no. Okay. But anyways, I just love anything that is just unsettling, that makes you go,
Yeah.
like anything that makes you go, do I like this? I don't know. Fuck yeah. I love that. Like
unsettling is a great way to
you
describe
know,
that stuff
like
too.
anything that makes you just go, I don't know if I'm ready for this, or like something. And to see the kids that go to these shows and how buck wild and ape shit they go for it, I love it. I'm more than anything, like I love just loud guitar extreme music. And so I love it. I back it. And even though when I'm like, what are they even like? I asked Tom from Haggis, said, are you even saying lyrics? And he goes, actually, there are lyrics. I'm like, because it seriously sounds like you're just going, you know, and he goes, no, I'm actually saying stuff. And I'm like, well, put a goddamn lyric sheet in the record for Christ's sake.
Well, I mean, literally, like I had heard that word maybe twice, and then you said it, and I was so shocked when you said mincecore, because I was like, wait a minute, I've heard that term in my record store from some young ass kids asking me if I had anything that might be considered that, and I didn't know what the fuck they were talking about. So I had to just own up and be like, nope, not cool anymore, kids. I don't know what the hell this shit is. I never was cool, but whatever. You know what I'm saying? I'm old now.
No one's cool. You know, like I'm not cool. I just got a lot of cool records, but you know,
that's a valid distinction, dude. Nobody's cool, but I got some cool records.
I'm a fucking nerd, man. I've always been a nerd. Before I discovered punk rock, I was this kid that read my fucking science fiction and horror books and magazines, and was into like, you know, animation stuff, and then punk rock. You know, I didn't even get into punk. I got gateway through punk rock through like power pop and new wave music from like the late 70s, like Nick Lowe and Elvis Costello. I knew what punk rock was. I was just talking to someone. I was like, I knew what punk was. I knew who the Sex Pistols were, and I knew the Ramones were a punk rock band. But I had heard the Sex Pistols, and I was like, I was a kid that grew up like on Creedence and the Beatles and the Stones and Alice Cooper, Deep Purple. That was my shit as a little kid. Then I got really into Kiss, and I was like, whoa, you know. And then I saw Cheap Trick open up for Kiss, and I was like, wow, Cheap Trick's rad. And I started getting really into power pop music, and then kind of backtrack. And then Elvis Costello, Nick Lowe, early Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, the Boomtown Rats. And I got really into that stuff. And that was all like punk adjacent, right?
Right.
And then what ended up happening was I went to go see Rock and Roll High School in the theater when it came out, which was it was a total flop when it came out. It lasted maybe a week in the theaters. But I went with a friend of mine, a childhood friend, because a mutual friend of ours was an extra in it. And that's why we went, was to see our friend in this movie with that band, the Ramones. And saw that at the Los Cerritos Center, which is a mall that still exists out here. And got to see the Ramones, like, and hear the Ramones. And I was like, man, if this is punk rock, sign me up. This band is fucking rad. Like, this is so good. Like, I went and bought Road to Ruin, and I think it was Dawn of the Dickies, like the next week or something. And then I was like, I guess I like punk rock now because I like the Ramones. Like, I wasn't into the Pistols. It took me a while to get around to the Pistols and fall in love with them too, but it was the Ramones. And then I was a punk rock fan. I didn't consider myself a punk rocker until I heard Black Flag. I heard Black Flag played on Rodney on the Rocks radio show. And I was just like, what the hell is this? Like, it just sounded like Black Flag sounded like somebody opening up a can of whoop ass. And what sound that came out was the song No Values. And when I heard that song, I was just like, whoa. I got the Rodney on the Rock comp, and it had the Adolescents on it and Agent Orange, and it had No Values for Black Flag. And that was just it. I was like, okay, I'm all in. I'm a punk rocker. I got fucking hair clips, shaved my head. And that was, I don't even think I was in 9th grade yet in high school. I think I was going into 9th grade. I was in 8th grade, maybe summertime. And then I've been fucked up ever since.
Hell yeah.
Dude.
So the guy that did all the engineering for the bullshit detector stuff, that dude actually, his name is Ramsey. Shout out Ramsey Bashara. He's the dude that in like, I don't know, man, 7th grade or so, handed me a copy of NoFX. I Heard They Suck Live, and was like, hey man, you got to hear these guys. They're just talking a bunch of shit between their songs. They're hilarious, man. But they play really fast. He's like, I think you'd like this. We were, young. We were starting to discover grunge music, and I was like, I just don't think I like that stuff. And I tried, man. I couldn't do Nirvana, man. It wasn't for me. But as soon as I heard NoFX, and then I heard Rancid right before that, and I was just like, man, this is different, bro. I like these guys. Is like, they don't really seem to give a shit about, typical everyday nonsense. They're more about either bigger issues or just fuck you, and I like that. I'll take either one of those.
yeah, man. It's really easy to talk shit on NoFX because they're a huge band,
right?
But those guys are punk as fuck, man. Like,
dude,
I remember seeing them. They were like one of the first bands that I remember when I saw them. And again, this was like 1982.
Damn.
No, maybe 83. I saw them open up for Corrosion of Conformity at this club called the Flash Dance in Anaheim. And I knew who they were because a friend of mine, that NoFX record cover, and it's a t-shirt of the skull with the syringe in it.
Yeah.
The girl who drew that was a friend of mine, Joy Aoki. She also painted the cover of Bad Religion's Against the Grain album.
Whoa.
But she was, we met each other at Knott's Berry Farm, at little punk kids running into each other. Anyways, I knew who they were because she had drawn that for them and showed it to me. I just do this for my friend's band, NoFX. They're from the Valley. And I was like, oh, okay. So they happened to be opening up the show, and they were not good. It was Eric Melvin, and it was a different drummer. It was the original drummer at the time. And I remember going, wow, this band really needs to like rehearse for like another 6 months. Like I know this band is just not good. And I saw them again, like maybe a year and a half later. And this was like, they had probably, I don't know if they had released it yet, but they had recorded the record that became Liberal Animation.
Okay.
And I saw them at a show at Fenders, and they were like mind-blowingly good. Like,
isn't that wild?
Whoa, this is not even the same band. They were so good. And because what it turned out was they really wanted to be RKL, and they were doing a great job at it, like RKL inspired stuff. And then I remember when S&M Airlines came out, and I checked that out, and I was like, it's a pretty fucking good record, and it's hilarious. Like, the lyrics are like, it's got a lot of funny satire, social commentary. So I've always been like big on NoFX. Like, I've always like been like, I don't care. People who try too hard can call them posers, and yeah, okay, maybe a lot of posers or like snowboard guys like them, but whether you like it or not, they're punk. They're cool.
Well, they never changed anything, man. They've stayed on their own label, done their own thing. I mean, look how fucking wild and weird Mike gets now. I mean, they didn't conform to anything. I mean, those dudes are like, look, were they shitty at points in their career? Sure, but they had a long career. It'd be impossible not to be shitty at some point in your career, 40-something years.
I've
But
always like been cool with them, and I've liked quite a few. They're like album, like that's a good album, that's a good one. That one's not so good. Like I paid attention. The same thing with just because they're big doesn't mean they suck or they're not legit. Is Rancid? I keep
oh,
up with
dude,
every Rancid record.
that's my
You
personal
know,
favorite band. So like I'm a big giant stand for that band. I love their shit. Um, yeah, I get tired of the punk elitist crowd. I really don't understand that shit. They're like, hey, come here. We accept everybody that wants to be themselves. And then you come and you're yourself, and they're like, well, you're a fucking dork. And it's like, what? I mean, first off, okay, I don't really care. But second, what are you talking about, man? You're the one that's concerned about what I like. Like, if it, like, it's just like somebody coming on my channel. Like, you stopped on a video where you don't like the content just to watch it and tell me I suck. That's strange, man. I mean, cool. Thanks for the support, I guess, but like, fucking, what a waste of your time, bud. Like,
yeah,
I don't know, man.
yeah. It's like that's a contradiction in so many different subcultures. There's a lot that are like that, not just punk, but punk is guilty of that. Yeah, like of being like everyone be yourself, just like me.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
and it's like, my thing is like, what? One of the things like why I gravitated into this is and why I felt like I found my people, my tribe was because I didn't want I just didn't want to be policed. I didn't want to be around people who acted like my friends' shitty parents. Like my parents were really cool. Like my parents were very, although they were conservative in some ways, they were very socially liberal. My parents are not racist. I'm a second generation Mexican American. My parents are first generation born here, like Mexican Americans, and my parents weren't bigots. My parents were not homophobic, and they raised us to not be like that. And I don't want to be around a bunch of people who act like who get older and act like they're shitty fucking parents. It's like
Dude.
I got into this to not be around cops. So why the
Facts,
fuck are
bro.
you trying to police me and tell me what I can and can't do? Especially again when it's like, but let me be clear though. Like again, going back to that little thing I said about these guys that think they're real cute with the conservatives, the new punk. No, it's not, because punk has always been a rebellious thing against the status quo, against those who have the upper hand. And those who have the upper hand have always been the rich and the elite and the conservative types. I'm not saying that you can't be involved in the punk scene if you're conservative. I'm not saying that you can't be a fan if you're conservative or support some shitty politician who has made a career out of shitting on working people. Okay. You know who I'm talking about. But don't try and co-opt your shittiness and your shitty principles as punk, because that isn't punk. Punk has always just been be cool, man. Be cool. Stand up for the underdog, and it's got nothing to do with this new right wing swing into I love it's hilarious how they try to there's a group of people that try to say because I say the unpopular thing that's punk. No,
Right.
you're
That's
an
dude.
asshole.
They've got that so misunderstood. Punk doesn't just mean counterculture or unpopular. There's a whole like ethos, and part of your character has to be a certain way. You have to be like no bigotry, no sexism. Like those are you have to have that. Like you
Yeah,
can't come in and be like, oh yeah, I'm cool, but I don't like Mexican people. Like, well, sorry, buddy, you can't congregate here. I'm gonna put
yeah.
my foot down. Like, do that shit in your
Yeah,
fucking
again, it's just they're just trying to shoehorn their
right.
stupidity in
So lame.
and use it as excuse. It's like, no, it's not going to fly here. Like again, you can be conservative. You can and you can listen to the music with us and all that stuff. But don't try to pass your stuff off as the new punk, like because it's not. It's just the same old bullshit is what it is. It's the
Right.
same old bullshit that we've been trying to get rid of for years. And we can't, there's no middle ground on that. You can't be a fence sitter when it comes to that shit. When somebody is trying to take away somebody's you know, ability to be themselves, and then all they've got is to throw some like nonsense talking points, like that they got off of like the news,
Right.
like because it just doesn't like nobody's cooler than anybody. Everybody, we're all a bunch of little weirdos, and as long as the only person you're harming is yourself, like nobody has, everyone needs to mind their own business. Like, but when you start projecting harm on other people, you start promoting harm on other people, then we got to put a stop to you.
I mean, I've asked a couple of people, explain to me what you mean by that. That's the new punk, and they always have the same exact answer. And what you were just saying, it's always, well, we're like we're not popular. I'm like, no, dude, that's not what it means though. And it's evidence that they don't understand punk to begin with.
Yeah,
Maybe you could take it as a teaching opportunity, I guess, if you desire to waste a bunch of your time. But, I want people to be what they want to be and act how they want to act, especially when it's a litmus test anyways. Like, you want to be a piece of shit, do it around me, please, so I know not to fuck with you. But, like, can't we just be nice to each other? That's the bottom line right there. Just be nice to each other. If you can't start there and build up, you're not welcome here, at least as far as
yeah,
I'm concerned.
yeah. And I mean, it's just, look, I don't want to spend too much time hawking on
Right.
about this, so negative, but yeah, like, again, like, the whole, like, punk has never been conservative. Punk will never be conservative. Punk started out as a scream against the established status quo of those in power, and it's always going to be. But it doesn't mean, it doesn't mean that you can't enjoy the music. It doesn't mean that you can't enjoy the environment. You just got to, like, not be a shitty person and keep your shitty points of view, to yourself, and not go crying about cancel culture when someone calls you out for having a stupid idea or a not a dumb opinion, And then what I mean by dumb opinion, a racist opinion, a homophobic
Right.
opinion, like you can't go crying and go, I got, cancel culture, blah, 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 blah. Like, I don't like using quote unquote woke language.
Right.
I don't like, and because I think it's stupid. Like, when people go, you're gaslighting me, and I'm like, could you stop? Just say you're lying, because that's what you're saying. You're saying someone is lying or trying to make, like, you're trying
Right.
to make me look stupid. You're trying to make me look. Just don't use these fucking stupid
They're buzzwords.
buzzwords.
They're
Like,
there to get a rise.
yeah,
I mean, those words are that they are there to just make you uncomfortable, irritated, and angry.
yeah. And I'm
But
just gonna call as I see it. You're lying. You're
right,
a liar, or you're saying, you're talking shit. That's not true. I don't go, he's gaslighting. He's this. Oh God, all that stuff. I mean, and it's things like that, that just get in the way of us. Like, yeah, the people in power, the people who we don't like, they're doing this on purpose. So we spend more time
yeah,
arguing amongst ourselves, in not going, hey, wait a minute, we're mad at each other because we have a difference in opinion. But the reason why we have a difference in opinion is because of those assholes.
right, yeah. Well,
Why aren't you mad at them? Like, you're getting mad at the guy who makes 700. You're getting mad at the guy who makes $7.60 an hour, that he quote unquote took your job. You're mad at him, but you're not mad at the guy that makes 7 million a fucking week. Like, you're blaming the guy that makes 700 or
well,
dollars
it's
a week.
our division is like, that's where they get their advantage. That's where they get the lead, is that they divide us, because we can only make change with numbers. They know that, so that if they can make the groups smaller, then they win. And that's all they want to do, is they want to put division out on the table. Go, here you go, guys, fight over this. We're gonna go over here and do something that's really fucking all y'all up, and you won't even know. And so we're out here arguing amongst ourselves while they're out there benefiting from all of our hard work, taking all of the things that we fought and died for, and just making it disgusting. Yeah, dude.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting 4 years.
To say the least.
Let's talk about punk rock.
I actually do have a question about something, and also, can I go take a leak real quick?
Yeah, no problem.
I'll be right back, brother. Be right back in a second.
One of the things I like about your channel is you don't profess to be cool, a guy.
Fuck, I'm
and
not.
Even like, you actually, something I saw recently where you were like, you showed the Red Cross LP that you bought, and you said, "This is a band I'm just getting into right now," and I was like, how fucking cool to fucking say. And it could have easily said, "Oh, Red Cross, they're a legendary band, I love them," and instead you tell the truth. Go, man, I'm just discovering this band who's been around since '79 for the first time. For me, I've loved Red Cross since I was a kid. They're one of my all-time favorite bands, like as a great pop rock band now. And I thought that was so cool. And I've known in some of the things I've watched of you where you're just real honest and going, hey, there's been more than a few times that you've said, I'm not professing to know everything about this. This is just what I know. Like, you always are real clear. And a lot of journalists or podcasters, whatever you want to say, they always want to they want everybody to think that they are like informed.
Right.
Like, I know. And you're very honest about, hey, this is new to me too, man. And that's really refreshing.
I sincerely appreciate you saying that, like, very much, because there's a reason that I do that. And it's because there are so many people that watch my channel that are afraid to interact because they don't want to sound uncool. And I want them to understand that, dude, I have people that I talk to almost every day that, hold on one second. Come here. You going to bed?
Yeah.
All right. Love you, buddy.
Love you too.
I'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
All right. Heck yeah. I have people that I talk to almost every day that they know so much more than I do. And so it just doesn't matter. You know what you know, you like what you like. And I got made fun of for liking the bands I liked as a young person. So like, it just kind of, I don't care anymore. Like, I like what I like. I know what I know. And I just started listening to The Clash, dude. I can't help that I got here the way I got here. It just is what it is. And if you're so fucking cool that that makes me lame, then fine, whatever, man.
You know what? I love The Clash. And I just found out on the last like Brats trip that we did that Bones is not a huge Clash fan. Like, I never knew that. Like, he's been my bandmate for fucking years. He's one of my best friends. And we were talking and he goes, yeah, and, you know, the Clash. And I'm like, wait a minute, you're not big on the Clash? And he goes, no, awesome, man, I really wasn't, you know, like, I still not, you know, like, and he gave me his song association. And I was like, wow, you think you know a guy, you know? And I'm like, how dare you?
Well,
you know, like, not love the Clash, you know, because I love the Clash, but I also don't think if you don't love the Clash, you're not a punk, you know.
I've heard that for so many years that I don't even care.
No,
but
man. It's here's like, whatever.
Here's the trick to my attitude when it comes to this kind of stuff. If I just accept that I am me and I just like what I like, nobody can make me mad about it. Nobody can make me feel bad about it. So anybody that wants to say something to me, I might even respond, but I don't care. As soon as I'm done responding, I am not thinking about that anymore. I have an awesome life. I've got an awesome family. I've got awesome friends, and I get to talk to people like you. I appreciate all this, dude. Call it whatever you want, man. People are jealous, and some people just suck. Some people just have a bad day. I don't know.
I'm okay. Like, I mean, I grew up at a time. There's that meme that you've seen. I'm sure you've seen it, where it says, I grew up in a time when punk was called Hey Faggot.
Oh shit, I haven't seen that, but like,
okay, and that's true. That's true. Like, I mean, I grew up in a time when, you know, walking down the street looking like you like punk rock music would get your ass beat, or you'd at the very least have someone go, hey faggot, you know, yell at you in the car, or go, you know, whip it good. They're like, B-52 suck. Yep. I'm like a 15-year-old kid, like, B-52s aren't even punk, you know.
Right. Dude, I mean,
homemade Black Flag shirt on that I made with permanent marker, you know, like,
dude, yes. And I had a bad religion shirt like that.
That was like the thing. So even to this day, if someone just goes like, oh, you know, like, you like Bonginator? Oh, I would be like, okay, like, all right, cool. You don't, you know, like, you know, whatever. Like, again, everything is relative, man. Like I'm a music fanatic. I love so much different kinds of stuff. I know, but punk is always my first and foremost, like, and it's the majority of my record collection. But I also got like, it's not, you can't see over here, dude. I got Monkeys box sets. I'm a big I grew up watching the Monkeys as a kid.
That TV show was pretty good.
The TV show is great, dude. I've got in my collection, I'm such a nerd. I've got like the original albums that I would find on eBay for like $5, and I had to get the stereo and the mono version. Like I've got awesome. Like of that. Like I'm a nut, but I also have like every fucking discharge. I've got like one of the things that I'm a total geek about is like Dead Kennedys records, and like my buddy Skunk's brother George took me record shopping in Philly, and I was like, looking through stuff, and I found, Dead Kennedys Too Drunk to Fuck 7-inch, $15, and I'm just like, now I already have 2 copies of it, but I look at this one and I'm like, oh, this is the German pressing. I don't have the German one, so hey. I'm like, this is what a geek I am about this stuff, man. Like I gotta have every version of like a band that I love, the Dead Kennedys, like with Jello. Like I've only seen them once with a different singer. It was okay. To me, like, and again, anyone that wants to be a fan of them now, that's totally cool. That's, I just, to me, like Jello's voice is as important as East Bay Ray's guitar playing and sound for me. So if I go see them live, I want to hear Jello's voice come out of the PA.
I can't imagine seeing them without him, honestly.
I mean, there's so many bands that are playing without, without important key members. And it's just,
that's true.
Sometimes you have to look at it like, sometimes they're just guys that like, look, man, I want to play these songs, and these guys don't want to do it anymore because they've moved on or they can't or whatever. You can't fault that,
Right.
It goes to everyone. And sometimes there are people like, dude, I'm just doing this for the check, but it's not for me to make that.
Dude, that's their decision too, though, man.
Yeah, that's their decision. But I love, Dead Kennedys is one of my all-time favorite bands. Like some of the most memorable shows that I ever like saw were Dead Kennedy shows as a kid, and I just fuck every record of theirs I dig. So like, yeah, I collect like every version. Like, and now that, for years I've had every like singular release, but now I've been like, oh, copy of Bedtime for Democracy. Oh, but this is the UK pressing. I don't have that one.
Dude, that's I only do that with Rancid stuff, and maybe if I find anything that's obscure from One Man Army, I'll pick that up too, because that's probably my second favorite band of all time. But like,
great band, man. One Man Army were awesome.
Well, yeah. I learned really quick that I can have either a great inventory or a great collection, and right now my primary concern is my shop being full of good stuff for people to come pick up. But every once in a while I'll get a little gem where I'm like, I have to keep this, man. Like I found a copy of Syndrome 81's LP, but it was like this 1 of 200 random pressing that I've never even heard of, and it's the type of thing that I would normally be sourcing for the shop, but I was like, I have to keep this, dude. This is so badass. So I just sold my personal, straight black vinyl edition.
We actually played with them just at that festival in Belgium that we played with the Cognitive Rejects. We played with
How was your trip, man?
Good, man. They were so good.
How was that trip? Y'all were gone for like a couple weeks or something?
Yeah, no, we just went for not even a week. We played 4 shows. We played in 2 in Germany, and then we did the fest on a Saturday in Belgium, and then we ended the tour Sunday night in France. And then Bones and I stayed. The rest of the band Monday morning flew home. Bones and I stayed behind for a couple days in just outside of Paris. We stayed with Ben and Ed from the band Cran.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and we did touristy shit. Like,
okay, yeah, you told me you were gonna do that. That's awesome. Hell yeah. Dude, Cran, those two people are beautiful people, man. Wonderful humans.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah, and their band is also really good.
They're definitely one of my favorite new bands. Like,
right. Oh, I love that band, dude. They're so good.
There's such good, like, I guess, newish punk bands going out right now that I'm really pumped about. Like punk rock, because because there's always, you know, every music scene has like a lull, but right now there are
Right.
so many awesome bands like putting out records and touring and stuff, like bands like, you know, Chain Whip, Bootlicker,
yes. Chain Whip is
Benton
so good.
Arme from
Yes.
Montreal,
Very good band.
Cran.
Dude, Castillo, that I'm wearing their shirt, a really good band out of LA.
Yep.
Obviously, Bullshit Detector. I got to shout out my Texas homies, Liberty and Justice.
Yeah, all, you know, the 3 bands that we played with on our Coffin Cats tour in Texas, and like Liberty and Justice, Bullshit Detector, and Concrete Elite.
Yep.
Like that was one of the things that when we agreed to do the tour, we asked, you know, the Coffin Cats agent, hey, could we pick the local bands? Like we have some bands in mind. And Bones and I picked the bands, and we were so lucky to get to play with those bands. Like very rarely do you go and see a show where like all 4 bands or 5 are just bangers, you know, and dude, like that whole tour was awesome.
That's exactly what I was telling people. I was like, y'all don't understand, dude. I was like, y'all don't get it, man. From the opening bell to the fucking final ring of the last round, this is gonna be a banger, dude. I was like, y'all don't get, the opening band is like my friends, and they're really, really, really great. And I had a few people show up, and they were like, dude, you weren't wrong. And I was like, well, no, I wasn't wrong about that. These are my friends I've known for 20-something years, man. I'm so proud of those guys. All of them. Those are all my friends. I love those bands.
Yeah. And so it was great. Like, you know, again, it's one of the reasons why we do it is like, the Brats don't tour a lot or tour long when we do it, but when we do it with bands that like, I'd be at that show, you know, like I want to be at this show. So it's not like, well, how much are we going to get paid? It's really like, where's it going to be and who all's playing? Like we're, you know, we've got some stuff coming up, like right after Punk Rock Bowling, we're playing at ends. We're going to play with the Addicts in San Diego.
Nice.
And then we have another tour that we can't announce yet, but we will be announcing. We're going to do 5 dates with an overseas band in July. And then the Brats in August, we go to Australia. Ooh. And that's always been a dream for us. And we lucked out, and this guy contacted us from a really cool booking. Vinny's touring. He said, hey, I want to book you guys. And God, he booked us like 7 shows in Australia.
That's awesome.
We're going to do that. And then Brat's already making plans like next year to do some dates, possibly with Cran. You know, but the whole thing is like, it's a really good time for good punk rock. And I'm hoping that with, you know, the Trump administration just doing so many fucked up things, it's going to inspire some great angry
punk. I've been saying that for months. Yeah. If nothing else, we're going to get some excellent music out of this. Like,
I hope so. I mean,
dude, we have to, man.
Yeah.
Like, look back at the Bush era, right? There was fucking tons of good music coming out. Just, you know, yeah. Again, we could go down a rabbit hole. It's going to lead into a negative conversation, but that is a positive thing, man. That's the silver lining.
I'm hoping, because there wasn't that much great stuff that came out of the first administration, but he's really doing a lot of fucked up shit. So I'm hoping, and there's so many good bands again right now that are out there playing.
There's a lot of good Oi music right now.
Yeah, well, just punk and Oi. There's like Vaccine in New York who are fucking great. And a lot of really good like DIY organizers of festivals. You've got Skullfest in Pittsburgh.
Yep.
You've got Nacho doing CY Fest, you know, on the regular. You know, there's all over scattered across America. Even like are you familiar with the guys, the guy and gal in the War Lovers? They're a band from upstate. And on the East Coast, and they started organizing their own fest.
What's the band called?
The War Lovers.
That's an awesome name.
Yeah, they're a 2-piece, man, and they're fantastic. But they aren't just playing live shows; they're organizing things. Like they had asked the Brats if we could participate in their first ever like mini fest, and for some reason, I think it might have been because it was happening either during or too close to our European tour, but we couldn't turn down. But I see them They were at CY Fest. They were at the festival. The Hostile City Oi guys in Philly. They regularly are putting gatherings together. They're putting another one together in November with the kids.
Nice.
They've asked Lower Class Brats to play. We might be able to do it. I don't know yet. You got the guys doing Crash Fest in the Northern California area. It's a really good time for like independent, punk rock. And then, then you've got your more mainstream stuff. Like you've got Punk Rock Bowling, which is always a great gathering. And you've also got the Punk in the Park people who organize stuff with a little more mainstream bands, but it's still, there's still punk rock bands playing it. There's punk rock adjacent bands playing it, so there's something for everybody out there happening, it's a good time.
It is a good time. I mean, I'm very fortunate because I'm going to Vegas in May for Punk Rock Bowling. And then assuming everything goes as planned, I'm going to the East Bay for my very first time. I've only left Texas 5 times. So I'm going to East Bay for a show to go see Before Dawn, who I worked with. They're playing a show up there, and I'm going to go hang out with one of my friends and see that show. And then in July, I'm going to another fest in New York, another place I've never been. And I'm doing all this stuff to film it all and put it up on the channel. I mean, I feel like it's coinciding with my channel growing. Is really nice to be able to have all these shows to go film and people to meet and talk with. And the community is in a really healthy place right now, as far as I can tell. So
yeah. And like, Punk Rock Bowling is like the best of the best because it's got the best of the big name bands and then the best of like the bubbling under bands, like and legit. Like, there's a mutual friends of ours that are going to be added to Punk Rock Bowling. That I know they're going to get added. I can't. It's not my place to announce it on your show, but your mind will be blown. But they always like. Mark Stern is like back booking Punk Rock Bowling, and he's always been about the new stuff. And Valencia we're going to play, but unfortunately they're running into some issues, some visa issues. So hopefully that'll get straightened out. But I've always like punk rock bowling has always been like the best of like the big mainstream bands and the best of the legit punk rock bands. And then always like a good amount of like up and coming bands,
Well, this is my first time going. I'm on cloud 9, bro. I can't wait. Are you going to be out there? No?
Yeah. Cause I'm when Cox Bar plays the United States, I'm their acting tour manager.
So I'm going to be there the whole duration
and working for them, hanging out. And then I do Clit45 is playing a club show with Fugitive.
Oh, nice.
Kids. So yeah, I'm gonna be busy hanging out, and working at the same time. My punk rock bowling is usually like I'll go for like maybe 2 days, but this one I'm gonna be there the entire time. Like
I'm glad I don't drink because I couldn't do that shit for that many days in a row. It would be a mess.
Oh, especially in a place that doesn't have any clocks anywhere.
Right.
So if you're at the casino, you're enclosed in 4 walls, they don't want you to see that it's daylight. Yeah. If you have bad habits, it's not a good place to be. Like my drinking habits are tame in comparison to what they used to be. I'm like a couple drinks and that's it. Like,
I might have a margarita, but I'm not
hard anymore. I'm
not trying to get drunk.
I've been a drug guy. So,
see, yeah, I was very much into that, but
yeah.
So I do have a couple of questions that might be kind of fun. First off, are you going to any of the club shows in Punk Rock Bowling? Because I cannot wait for these club shows, dude.
I'm definitely okay. The show that Clit45 that we're playing with Fugitive in the next room is Negative Approach in 7 seconds.
Okay.
So I'm going to be bouncing back and forth, watching, a couple songs from like the bands that we're playing with. And then I think that while we play, unfortunately, Negative Approach will be playing, who are my buddies, and I'm their booking agent, and it'll suck not to see them, but I could see them any other time. I definitely want to catch 7 Seconds because they're always fucking amazing live. I'm gonna go to the Coffin Cat show because they're a crawl space band as well, but I want to see the other bands on the show, which has got the Bridge City Sinners, and Before Dawn is opening up that show. So those are my bandmates in Clit45. I want to go see the other band because I haven't seen Before Dawn yet.
Well, me either, and I put out their damn record.
Yeah,
like that EP is so good, man.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be at that one. I'll be around, like I said, like I'll be at the club show on. I'll be, yeah,
dude. There's so much going on that week, man. I want to see. I haven't seen the Bouncing Souls in like 15 years. I haven't seen them in so long. I can't wait to see them play again.
God, I think last time I saw them was probably Punk Rock Bowling in Jersey, at the only one they ever did in Jersey, and I think I saw them on that. Did they play on that? I think they did.
They had to have played if it was in Jersey.
I don't know.
But they're one of my favorites, man.
I can't. Sometimes it's a blur. I know Cockspar and Flag played that because I lost my voice screaming along the flag.
There you go, dude. I heard that Cockspar is like one nonstop sing along when they play.
If you know the lyrics, yeah. But if you know the lyrics, just look at the guy next to you and like.
I will. Yeah. I imagine I'll know most of them. I don't know any bands, all their lyrics, not even Rancid, but I'm excited to go film all this stuff, man. I want to see Cockspar, Bouncing Souls, Interrupters. Of course, they're always fun live. But all the club shows, honestly, that's where I'm very excited. There's some fucking Swing Utters club show is Dillinger Forest playing fucking Hot Water Music. Like it just, Nothington. There's so many bands that I want to see, dude.
Yeah, I'm really excited about getting to see Flag again and the Damned.
The Damned are playing. Yes, the Damned are playing.
Yeah, that's a band that I've seen so many times. Like first time I ever saw the Damned was 1983 or 4 on the Strawberries tour. And I think the Damned are one of those bands, like along with Motorhead and Cheap Trick, that I've seen them so many times that I can't even think about. I don't know the count because it's just they're coming to town. I'm going. Like that's what you do. Motorhead comes to town, you go see Motorhead. There's no excuses. You go. The Damned are in town, you go see the Damned. But yeah, like the Damned and the Motorhead are like my punk rock Beatles, like you just
hell yeah,
go see them. Oh, they're coming to town. You're gonna go see them. The Beatles and the Stones are in town, so you go. Last time I saw the Damned was at that No Values Fest, and they were killer.
Was that last year?
Yeah, last year. The No Values Fest.
Yeah, I've never seen them either. I mean, living down in Houston, there's so many bands that I've never seen, bro. Like it's unbelievable how many bands I haven't seen. But it like I said, it is what it is, man. I'm excited. I'm gonna go put my fucking microphone in everybody's face, try to get some fucking footage of hanging out, and I like to create these memories to go back and watch later. I have a lot of footage that I don't show people. It's just stuff I go back and go, man, that was fun, dude. And go watch it because I have a terrible fucking memory from a head injury when I was younger. So what is do you have a favorite band?
I have a ton. So it's like, what's my favorite punk band? What's my favorite rock band? But, it's like, I think like my all-time favorites, like I said, like just at the top of my head of all-time favorite periods are definitely like Motorhead, Discharge, The Damned, Dead Kennedys. The Beatles and the Stones,
You're a Beatles guy.
Yeah. Well, both. I like them both. There's people that try to pull that cool guy thing. Like, I don't like the Beatles. I like the Stones. Well, I like them both. Fuck you.
Oh, I don't like the Beatles. I like the Stones. Okay. But I'm an Elvis guy.
Yeah. And yeah, I just,
yo, put me on. What is a Beatles record that I should just go sit down and listen to and give it a shot? Revolver. I will do that.
Like, it's the most like everything. Like it's all over the place and it has some good hard rock and stuff. It's got some pop shit. It's got some weird shit. I like the weird shit. I like Tomorrow Never Knows is one of my all-time favorite Beatles songs, it's like I said, I can give you a list of bands of records you should like. Okay, if you don't have these records in your punk collection, you should have them in your collection. Like every punk should have like these staples. Like
Give me an example.
oh, just off the top of my head again, like see, Dead Kennedys, Fresh Fruit for Rotting Vegetables. God, the Black Flag, Jealous Again, or the Nervous Breakdown 7-inch. The first three punk releases on Frontier, which is Adolescence Blue album, one of the greatest rock records ever released, period. It's a perfect album. First song to the last song. Circle Jerks group Sex. Christian Death's Only Theater of Pain, and actually the China White. That's another Frontier record. China White's Danger Zone is like a precursor to like metal punk. Like it's kind of speed thrash before speed thrash. I remember being a kid and some people going like, China White, they're metal because they had guitar solos in their songs. like they sounded like professional guitar solos, but that stuff is tough as nails. The Danger Zone EP is so fucking good. It definitely like precursor to the speed metal thing. There's some very speed metal stuff on there when speed metal didn't exist. There was no Metallica. There was no, Venom yet,
I mean, so I'm going to have you send me a list like this because out of all the stuff you mentioned, I only have 2 of those records. Like,
which one
I've got
do you have?
Adolescence and Circle Jerks. Those are 2 records.
Yeah, but there's those are important records to have, man. Like,
but this is going to make you want to punch me in the face, but I don't really jam Dead Kennedys like that. Like, they have a lot of songs that I like.
But does Jello's voice get on your nerves?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, it's like a thing. There's certain things about certain bands that you can't get past, and that's okay. Like,
but they do have a lot of songs that I like. I mean, they have enough to make a pretty good mixtape out of it.
Yeah,
probably make a 90-minute.
He's got this really, Jello's voice was kind of like angular at times, and
that's a great descriptive word, dude.
Yeah,
angular,
very very quirky. See, and that's the way I kind of felt like when I was a kid before listening to punk rock. But I heard Devo and the B-52s for the first time, where I was like, well, the music's kind of okay, but the singers are all like singing weird. They're not singing because they don't sing in a pop context. They sing in this, weird like the lead singer of Fred Schneider of the B-52s, like singing all quirky. We were at the beach, and like
right.
that weird.
Yeah.
And when you're like a cool rock guy or a guy in the hard rock, you're used to singers sounding like cool and tough or like whatever, and not like, they're stepping on a bunch of Legos. So yeah, I can get that, like I said, there's certain things I'm trying to think of a band that like a lot of people laud and I just can't get behind. Well, you know what? I actually like and respect this band a lot, but I'm just not a huge fan of theirs. Is Hot Water Music. There's songs of theirs that I like, that I'm like, God, that's a good song. But there's kind of like, and it's not just them, it's other bands that get kind of folky,
Yeah, I love that shit.
Kind of like down home in what they do. And I'm just kind of not into that too much because it's kind of like, dude, if I want to listen to the Eagles, I'll just play Hotel California, which I won't.
Dude, are you comparing a Hot Water Music to the Eagles, bro?
I'm just saying, like, and what I'm saying, and I know that if one of the guys in Hot Water Music were to hear this, would be bummed because I know one of them is a big Final Conflict fan. Like, I met him and he's like, dude, I have an American Scream shirt. And he's like, oh, he just compared my band to the Eagles. And I just mean like there's very much like a twangy element to what they do at times, almost folksy.
Sure.
And I've never been a big fan of like things that are a little more folk leaning. I've always just been more of a like guitar guy. Like, but at the same token, I do like certain things that like, well, how come you don't, you're like, okay, Hot Water Music's not really my thing 100%. And again, there's Hot Water like EPs and certain songs I'm like, fuck, that's a good song,
Right.
But I also really like Neil Young, like his
Okay.
Crazy Horse stuff with the crazy distorted guitar stuff, and that's twangy as fuck. So little hypocritical. I know that.
Well, I mean, I like I said, dude, there's plenty of Dead Kennedy songs that I like. I just thought it was funny because I fucking hate the Eagles, but
Oh, dude,
hot
I was
water
in the
music
vet
band.
today and they were playing this mix, and it was Stevie Nicks and the Eagles back and forth. And I was in the vet for way longer than I wanted to be for my cat's checkup. And it was like, seriously, dude, an hour of fucking goat woman Stevie Nicks and
Yeah,
the
dude.
fucking Eagles like Lion Eyes and fucking Take It Easy. And I was just like, oh, fuck. When I get in the car, I'm gonna blast fucking anti-C-Mix or Discharge as soon as I get in
Dude,
the fucking car. Like it cleans
Discharge is exactly the band I was thinking. I was like, I would hop in my car and throw on some Discharge immediately. Like any kind of like very fast, almost crunchy lo-fi D beat crusty punk stuff is like the anti whatever the fuck that
Yeah.
shit is. I look, man, they're great musicians. I give them that, but I don't like it. I don't.
Yeah, it's just not my thing. And like, the other thing too is when I see some of these kind of like hipster types that are all like, taking selfies of themselves at the record store day with a copy of a Fleetwood Mac record or something, and I'm just like, dude, fuck off. That stuff's the reason why punk existed, to get rid of that fucking milk toasty, light fucking rock bullshit,
That
And
is exactly right, actually.
yeah, I've never was. I can't get into that kind of era. But
Well,
again,
that's the stuff that the
I'm
Ramones heard and were like, oh no, and they just plugged their shit in and played as fast as they possibly could.
yeah, just brought it back to 50s
Right.
straightforward rock and roll. Like,
Yeah, I like Chuck Berry, Little Richard. I really like Little Richard a lot, and I like Jerry Lee Lewis. Chuck Berry is probably my second favorite guitar player of all time. Like he just created so many sounds that I just to this day could listen to over and over and over again.
well, those Little Richard recordings, like especially the specialty stuff, like the specialty label stuff that he did, that stuff is wild as fuck. That is punk before punk. Like his
Oh yeah,
vocals and him going nuts, and the things he was singing about, which were really transgressive because he was singing about fucking most of the time, but
right,
doing it in a way that went under the radar, and he was like a queer black man,
right.
like
Can you imagine how difficult that was?
yeah,
Jeez.
that's some middle finger in the air stuff right there, man. Like and like, yeah, I can get behind that. I love a lot of that really early, like Little Richard, and like even like the early like outlaw country stuff,
Well,
which I like, early, like the Hank Williams stuff,
oh yeah,
and some
old
early,
Johnny Cash,
yeah, like in
Merle
early Waylon
Haggard.
Jennings and stuff like that from the
Yeah.
70s and stuff. I like that stuff. I just don't like some of this modern goober
Well, it's lost the
rock with a
soul. It's
twang.
lost the soul. The
Yeah.
stuff that made it great is gone. If you go back and look at who Little Richard put on, it would blow your fucking mind, dude. He put on. I can't even remember all of them. It was just so many people. Like talking about the Beatles, talking about Jimi Hendrix, talking about James Brown. These are all guys that worked with and for Little Richard before they were big. People don't even understand that. I didn't know that shit until fairly recently, but a customer of mine was in the store. He's a gentleman. He's like in his mid 60s. He's just now getting into punk music, which I think is fucking awesome. And he's in there talking about, hey, I want to collect some records. I'm kind of picky, and I'm like, great, dude, give me your list. I'll help you find them, and we'll form a great friendship over this stuff. And he was telling me that Little Richard like was the originator of what we consider like rock and roll vocals, where you're not singing, you're yelling. And
Yeah.
I was like, damn, I never really thought about that. But he probably is the first person to really get behind a microphone and yell some lyrics, man, and scream
Yeah.
some lyrics.
He definitely was. And I mean, and it inspired the Beatles, and like, Hendrix was one of his players for a while.
Crazy.
And it all, like I said, all trickles down, because then years later you get these white guys from Seattle who are inspired by Little Richard, and they start what has been like labeled as the first punk band, which was the Sonics. Like, if you listen to the Sonics, Jerry Rosalie sounds like a an offshoot of Little Richard. You know, he even could do the howl and stuff like that. And those two Sonics records, I mean, they definitely sound like, yeah, this could have been the you know, they were just playing loud, raucous rock and roll, but it was definitely what would ending up inspiring punk rock, you know.
I don't know that I've spent much time listening to the Sonics. I know I've heard them, but I can't recall like the song titles.
Yeah, the Sonics are great. Like the Sonics Boom album, and then there's another one introducing the Sonics. Both,
That's the one that I know I've heard all the way through. Was introducing the Sonics.
Yeah, like songs like The Witch and Psycho and stuff, like just brilliant stuff, man. Like I was fortunate enough, I got to see the Sonics play in Austin during South by Southwest, and I think at that time the lineup was 3 or 4 of the originals, including the original singer Jerry Rosalie, and he could still do the fucking owls and howls like just as ferocious as he does them on the record. It was pretty rad, you know, because this guy was pushing 70 and still could go ow like crazy. It was awesome.
That's fucking nuts. Sorry, my wife was telling me goodnight. So out of your record collection, if you have a handful, not one, because that's an impossible task most of the time, but like you have a handful of just like some of your favorites, like what would you pull out if I was over at your house? What would you pull out to show me if we only had like 10 or 15 minutes? Hey, check these 3 out or these 5 out or whatever. What are some of your favorite records that you own?
Oh God. Definitely would be a couple of the Discord 7-inches, like either the First Minor Threat or the SOA.
Like original pressings?
Yeah, like
holy shit.
Or the original first press of the Adolescence Blue album, which most people don't know is a different mix than the version that you're listening to. The first pressing came out, and for some reason they decided, I think Tom the producer Tom Wilson decided to remix it. The remix is just as good. It's just different. Like the original version is a little more drier, not so much reverb on the vocals and overall, but it's something that I know those records like the back of my hand, and I real anal about having. I gotta have the real version, you know. So like maybe that, maybe the original pressing of Detestation, the Gizm Detestation would be one.
Damn.
I don't know. I'd have to think about it because, like I said, I've been collecting for so long.
Right.
I know I'm missing something. Oh, you know what? Like maybe my original pressing of like Crass Feeding of the 5000, which was the original with an LP cover, not a poster cover. And then when I booked a tour for Stratford Mercenaries, which was Steve Ignorant was singing for them, I handed that copy to Steve and he autographed it and was like, wow, you found an original one, like, you know, and everything. And he was like, these are hard to find. And I found it at a secondhand record shop in I think Nottingham in like 1987 for £5. It was like,
dude,
like now it would translate to like less than $10 what I bought it for. And it's
that's
like the original
incredible.
pressing on Small Wonder Records.
That's awesome. I love hearing stuff like that because I don't have a lot of stuff like that. I've got a few cool things, but I like to like listen to other people talk about it just because I'm so. Because if I ended up with that stuff, it would end up in my record store. Man, I like to pass these things on to other people, but I've got my stuff that I'm attached to. That's pretty badass though, man. Stuff like that's got to be scarce. I've never heard anybody tell me that they had original like old first press Crass stuff. That has got to be really hard to find.
Yeah, and like I'm kind of, like I said, I'm a nerd. I can actually like if you found, like, went through my collection and you found something like old from the 80s and like if you pulled it out, I could probably even tell you like, oh, I rode my 10-speed to Tower Records and bought that one, like, or oh, when I got my learner's permit, I drove to Zed Records in Long Beach and I bought that 7-inch, you know, like I make a joke all the time, like, hey, you know what? I couldn't tell you where I put my car keys 10 minutes ago, but you could pull out a record in my collection and I'll tell you some completely irrelevant fact about that record. Like, oh, that record was produced by blah, blah, blah. And it was recorded at this recording studio, you know, like I'm a virtual, like, wealth of knowledge for completely, inane record nerd music fanatic stuff, but it, you know, I don't know.
That's the good stuff, dude.
It
What are
got
you
me where
talking
I'm
about?
at, I guess I could say, where I have a really cool job that I like doing, and I get to, play with my friends playing punk rock. I mean, if you would have said, "Hey, dude, like, you're gonna be in your 50s and you're still gonna be playing punk rock with your friends, and you're gonna actually get to go and play in foreign countries and fly across the United States, and people will actually come and see you do this," and I'd be like, bullshit.
Dude,
I'd be
it's
like,
amazing.
so yeah, it's like I've been really fortunate. Hold on, my cat wants to go. She wants to come in the room, then she wants to go out of the room. Biscuit, look, there you go. The door's open. Get the heck out. Come on, go. Now, now I open the door. She doesn't want to go.
No, that's how that works, man. It's just like having a little kid. Dad, I'm hungry. Cool. What do you want to eat? Never
Yeah,
mind. Okay, well, I'm gonna go do something then. Well, I'm hungry again. You're like,
yeah,
motherfucker.
little furry shit machines.
Dude, so okay, I'm working on a video about Rancid's self-titled album from 2000, right? And the reason I'm even mentioning that is because the question I'm fixing to ask you will relate to me telling you that. Is there an album that you could think of that when you bought it, you were at like an excitement level 10, and then when you listened to it, it was a total bummer?
Oh, I can think of a few of
Yeah.
those. Um, oh man, I wish I would have known this was coming, because then I would have like went, uh, like, I think it was always a band that was like, when I think a good example was when the whole crossover in the late 80s, and bands started like crossing over into thrash, and like thrash metal and stuff, and bands that were on a good path, and then they just went too far. Like I think one was really excited about the Cro-Mag's second release, and it came out, and that was Best Wishes, and then I was just like, this is just kind of just metal, like nothing. There was
Yeah.
still some good songs on it, because there were songs that I remember them playing on the Age of Quarrel tour, but I remember that being one, was like the second Cro-Mags record, and I've never listened to another Cro-Mags record since. Um, Discharge's Grave New World, which I kind of knew by their photograph on the back, the way they looked, that it was going to be different.
Okay.
But it was like the music was on, and it was like, okay, this is kind of hard rock and metal. It was when the vocals came, and I was just like, oh God, this is crap. I still think the record as a hard rock record is actually really good, but the vocals just absolutely ruin it, because it sounds like a cat being strangled, like really bad falsetto, not good falsetto heavy metal vocals. It's really bad falsetto vocals. Oh man, I don't know, man. I wish I would have been prepped for that one. Like, because I know I could have come up with something better than that, and just went, yeah, man, I was so stoked about this band, and so not like, oh, I know the perfect one.
Okay.
Okay, Bad Religion, their second album, Into the Unknown.
Yes, that's a
Okay,
great answer, dude.
that's the one, because a band, like, they did the first 7-inch, and I mean, there was no, I mean, Bad Religion in that period were a band that made you so proud to be from Southern California. We're like, we've got the best punk bands, we've got the Adolescents. And then Bad Religion, when they released How Could Hell Be Any Worse, it was seriously just like, as a kid, I was like, this band is so good, the lyrics are so good, and the music is catchy. Like, wow, what a great band. And then this Into the Unknown album comes out, and it's got this, spacey galaxy cover, and they're like, okay. And this was the genuine thing with every kid who bought it, was like, you put it on, and then you hear like that synthesizer, and then it sounds like fucking Jefferson Starship, not even Jefferson Airplane. I'm talking Jefferson Starship. We built this city on rock and roll bullshit. And it was just like, and every kid, we would like, you put the needle on thing, and you're like, first 30 seconds, and you're like, okay, next song is going to be good. And it's like, nope. Nope. And every kid, and so many people that I knew when they bought that record, like literally trashed it. It became the thing. Like people would just like take the vinyl record and just literally like snap it in half, like over their leg. Or I remember going to a party and like somebody just like pulling it out and everybody just like skidding on the record like a fucking skateboard, like now me, because I'm obsessive even then, like record nerd, I was just like, yeah, this isn't for me. There's a couple kind of cool rock songs on it, but overall, like, so I just put mine away. And now that record sells for like thousands of dollars because I think most people like trashed them, like literally trashed them. And like my copy is like in mint, like my original copy.
Oh, you still have it?
Oh yeah, I still
I would
have
have
it,
long
dude.
gotten rid of that one.
It's in my Bad Religion box set, dude. I mean, I love Bad Religion, and I got it was the only way that when they did that Bad Religion box set, you could get a vinyl copy of Into the Unknown. They actually repressed it for it.
That's awesome.
And it was but I put my original copy in with it. But yeah, I've got an original copy of that. And the funny thing is one of the last times I saw Bad Religion was at a fest in Vegas, and they played the Dichotomy, which was so awesome because that's like a real dirgy kind of heavy rock song. And I was with my buddy Mike Gitter, and all of a sudden I'm like, dude, they're playing the Dichotomy. Like, it was a record that Bad Religion tried to like walk back. Like, I remember asking Brett Gurwitz when I met him once about it, and he thought I was like kind of like making fun of him and like trying to be a little smartass. I was like, no, listen, there's actually some good songs on it. I like this song and this one, like, but what was going on? Like, what made you guys release that? And he just was like, dude, like drugs, and thinking that we could do it. Like, and it's he was just like, yeah, drugs can really like make you think that you a lot of bad ideas, and he was just like, yeah, it wasn't a good time for the band and all that. But yeah, that's the one. That's the record where I was so excited because I mean, it was seriously like a band doing a complete, 180. Like,
that's actually a better
exact opposite,
That's a better example than
very good.
That's a better example than what I was thinking when I asked you that, because there's sophomore albums, they can be really a sketchy experience because you get a band, they do one album, and you're like, oh, this is what the band's supposed to sound like, but maybe that's not how they're feeling, and they want to just make whatever they want to make when they want to make it, which is, I think, great, do that. But you get a second album from a band is like, I mean, Weezer's second album was completely shat on when it came out, and then
Pinkerton,
you had
right?
Pinkerton.
I like that record. I think it's a great fucking record.
People in hindsight sure like it, but I remember when it came out and people fucking hated that album. But like,
I was never a big Weezer fan to begin with, and then I remember hanging out with a friend of mine, and they were listening to it, and I was like, "Who's this?" And they're like, "Weezer." I'm like, this is a cool record, man. It sounds like, because I love the car. I love a lot of 80s stuff, and I love the cars. So I was like, this kind of moments of the cars I kind of like. I really liked it, and I was like, cool. So I went and bought it, the CD of it, and but here's like the thing with, like, they always say, like, you have 3 years to write your first record, and then 6 months to write your second record.
Hell yeah.
And it's kind of a true thing, because you spend all these years like honing, your craft, so to speak, and writing all these songs and figuring out what works and what doesn't work. And if you end up doing a first great record, then you have all this expectation on you, and then they say, okay, now do it again.
Right.
But no, you don't get to 3 years. You got to put out a new record. You got 6 months to write this. And there's exceptions to the rule. Like, the first Black Sabbath album is fucking amazing. The second Black Sabbath album, all the way to the fourth record, are fucking perfect fucking albums. But here's the thing, is those guys were, I think the first 2.5 records of material, they were like working on those from their inception. Like, by the time that they were Paranoid, they were already performing most of Paranoid during their original inception era. So it was just basically like, I think, I know Paranoid was written in the studio. I mean, how great is it to like be so talented that a song you literally shit out in the recording studio, you literally just like, well, we got to write another song and it's got to be short enough for a single. And they literally just shit out this idea. Okay, yeah, whatever. And it's still one of their most known songs to this day.
It's a masterpiece. It's a masterpiece.
It is.
Remember when Blitz's, I don't remember when this happened, but I know that when Second Empire Justice came out, that was not received very well.
Oh, now you have all these bands trying to copy that.
Right. Well, I mean, I didn't know that album wasn't cool, so I liked it from the get-go because I was very late to that party. I didn't like Blitz when I was a kid. I discovered them in my 20s. But I remember people seeing it and going, "Oh, you like this?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's pretty good." I mean, to me, it didn't sound that much different, honestly. I mean, it was different, but it didn't sound like night and day or anything. It just sounded a little slower, a little more melodic, had more production value. But yeah, that album was one that was, it was hated.
Again, that was kind of like, in my generation, that was kind of like the UK Bad Religion version, because these guys had released such a great tough guy punk record, right?
That's valid.
And then their next record is like this kind of like more spacey and
yeah,
kind of like cold. It definitely found its audience. I remember only listening to it once after it came out, and I was like, wow, this is really different. This sounds kind of more like a band that would like support like Bauhaus or something. And I was
100%.
I wasn't, if it would have been called another band, I think I would have gotten into it more, because even as a kid, back then, like I liked a lot of like what turned into goth rock. Like,
okay,
I loved Christian Death when that record came out, and I had a bunch of Bauhaus records. I remember buying I can't remember what Angelic Upstart's record it was, but it was the brand new Angelic Upstart's LP, and buying a Bauhaus album. And the guy at the counter, like, cool guy, just kind of like, whatever. like, how can you like this and like that? I've always liked different stuff, and I've always been really into like a lot of death rock. Still love it, like death rock, gothic, whatever you want to call it, cold wave, whatever. I like all that stuff because I'm a horror kid too. Like, yeah, that's why there's like no escaping. No matter what dumb thing Glenn Danzig says on the internet, I'm gonna still love Sam Hain and the Misfits. Like I
mean, he sure did create some iconic music in imagery. I mean, well, he didn't create the imagery, if I'm being honest, but
he reappropriated it in a clever way. And I mean, man, like those Misfits songs, they're so simple. And it just proves that you don't have to be a great player. You just got to write something that is appealing to the ear, because like some of that stuff, like you can hear the guitars are like not even properly in tune, but the songs are that they're that good, man. Last Caress, Attitude,
yes,
and you're just catchy, catchy, like 5 notes, 6 notes, like Where Eagles Dare. I mean, the verse is one fucking note, man. That's it, one fucking note, and a great melody line, and then the chorus. It's just, you don't have to be, Chuck Berry. You don't have to be, a Zakk Wylde on guitar to write a catchy, memorable song. And the Misfits are a perfect example of like these songs were real primal, recorded really low budget, sometimes not even in tune, but the song rises above that, the hook and the sing along, and like that's what matters. That's why some people will forgive Glenn Danzig for doing and saying hokey shit, because he's like, motherfucker wrote, We Are 138.
Right.
Like,
well, shout out for mentioning Zakk Wylde, bro. That guy in punk rock circles will not get talked about very often. He's a fucking good guitar player, man. Woo.
He's not my favorite Aussie player, but I do love the No More Tears album that he plays on, and that's one of my favorite Ozzy records, and actually might be one of my last Ozzy records that I really like. Like, I mean, Randy Rhoads is the king on that stuff, but again, like, I'm just a music fanatic, but I love that Zach's playing, and I love every song on the No More Tears album.
When I was a kid, I got a hold of when I got into music very early on, I converted over to punk rock, but I still would try other things. And I remember I got a copy of I think it was Blizzard of Oz, and then I got a copy of No More Tears. And I remember whenever I put on No More Tears, I think that was even a cassette tape. It was one of the few records that I had that were metal or something like that I could listen to the whole thing. I really, really still probably would like that album. I need to go back and listen to it. It's been a long time.
Yeah, I'd also like Jakey Lee was another great player with his. I love the Ultimate Sin album a lot. Like, I got to see Ozzy on that tour, and truth be told, the only reason why I went was because Metallica was opening that they were on the Master of Puppets tour, and they were the opening band. That's why I really went. But Ozzy killed on that tour. But yeah, the Ultimate Sin album is I like that record. That's like a good 80s hair metal record. Like I like it a lot.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. The first Rat full length I really like too.
Come on, Rat. Damn. That was not expected. What's your
Lack of Communication is such a great fucking song. That song is punk as fuck.
What song is it?
Lack of Communication.
I don't think I've ever heard that song.
Seriously, for that, I'm not a big fan of hair metal stuff, but there are certain records that are just that rock really hard. Like the first Cinderella album. The only reason why people rag on that band is their name was lame.
Yes,
their name was lame, but that record rocks hard. And maybe if they wouldn't have looked so hokey and had a hokey name, they could have been as popular as Guns N' Roses. But yeah, man, first Rat Out of the Cellar. It's the only Rat album I own. I have this beat up copy that I found for $2 because I really like that song. I like Round and Round. And I like Lack of Communication. I was like, fuck, $2, whatever, And then the whole record rocks. The whole record's great.
Finding a nice little gem like that is pretty cool, man. Hell yeah. What I'm gonna have to get up out of here in a minute because time is flying, but I hope we can do this again one of these days. I don't know if you have the time.
Pick a topic because this thing went all over the fucking place.
Oh yeah, no, that's kind of the beauty of the first time I talk to somebody. It does go all over the place. You mentioned horror movies. Do you have a go-to handful of horror movies when it's just time to watch a movie? You don't want to think about it. What are you picking out? You got 2 or 3 that you go to?
Oh yeah, God, Dawn of the Dead, the original Dawn of the Dead.
Okay.
From the 80s. Santa Sangre, one of my all-time favorite directors, Alejandro Jodorowsky. And man, I mean, one of the just goofy ass movies probably is maybe something like The Reanimator.
Yeah.
Actually, man, even the original Night of the Living Dead, though, man, I don't know.
God, that movie's boring as fuck, though, man.
The original Night of the
Black
and White still packs a punch, man. Right down to the very ending. It's
the end of that movie is crucial.
Yeah,
the end of that movie is crucial. I have unpopular opinions across the board, though, because I don't like that movie. I don't like The Exorcist. That shit is boring, dude.
Really, you don't like The Exorcist? Wow.
Man, I fall asleep watching that shit, man. But you know, I jumped in the deep end, bro. When I started watching horror movies, dude, it was straight to Hellraiser, Nightmare on Elm Street. Exorcist was too thought provoking for me. It was. I still don't like the.
Nightmare on Elm Street just gets into it right away. I remember seeing it at the theater when it came out, and that movie still holds up as one of the best supernatural slashers ever.
Yeah.
I mean, my favorite scene in the movie is in the beginning when the character Tina, she's having a nightmare, and he's in the alley. And he says, he does the whole she goes, "Oh my God." And he goes, "This is God." And he, cuts his fingers off. And then he extends his arms, and how his arms, the alleyway all of a sudden gets really long, and his arms are super exaggerated and longer than reality.
Oh, hell yeah.
That always freaked me out because that's what nightmares are like. They don't follow logic they don't follow. And I was like, I remember seeing it, go, wow, this is like I'm watching a nightmare, because there's no
There's no
logic.
rules.
No rules at all.
Yeah.
His arms are super long and creepy, and then he goes chasing after her, and he's doing this weird, creepy fucking run after her. Like, such a great fucking that original.
Dude, they could have never cast him better than they did. It would have never ever happened.
I know that they remade it a few years ago, but I've never watched it.
It's not good.
Yeah,
it's not good.
It doesn't. The first one is awesome, like from beginning to end. That one, the Nightmare on Elm Street, is so good, man. It's such a good film, you know.
Yeah, dude, that movie is fucking awesome, man. Do you have dreams that you can remember, or are you one of those folks that don't ever have dreams, quote unquote?
I do. I can remember some. Yeah, I can remember some.
I have incredibly weird, very vivid, lucid dreams. I can control my dreams. Like if I'm asleep, I can literally go, nope, don't like this. Wake up, and I'll come right. I mean, I do get sleep paralysis sometimes though, where I can't move and I'm awake and it's fucking terrifying. But like my brain is all jacked up. I've got all kinds of stupid shit going on. But
oh yeah, well we all are. In some way. But yeah, I have. I can actually, like, if there is like a sound going on in real life while I'm sleeping, it will incorporate sometimes into my dream.
100%. You know, that's because you're not into your deep enough sleep yet.
Yeah,
I figured
exactly,
out that if I want to have like really vivid dreams, because I don't mind nightmares, because I can tell they're nightmares. I know they're not real. But if I want to have real vivid, messed up dreams, I can leave on my lights, leave on my TV, and just make myself go to sleep. And I'll never dip into that real deep sleep because I'm a light sleeper. And I'll have just insane dreams. Now, it's not healthy. I don't do it. But if I fall asleep watching TV in the daytime, out of there, bro. I'm going to have crazy ass dreams.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay, so Punk Rock Bowling is in about a month. What do you have going on after that? Like I don't know, 2-3 weeks after that.
Yeah, okay. So after Punk Rock Bowling, like I said, the next week, the Brats are playing with the Addicts at the Observatory in San Diego. That's on May 29th.
Nice.
And then we're gonna announce, like I said, the Brats, we're gonna announce another tour in July. Like that, we're gonna announce a July tour with another band. We just can't announce it yet.
Cool.
It'll be on our social media stuff. Let's see, Clit45. The only thing we have is the Punk Rock Bowling show right now booked. Final Conflict has not got anything confirmed until CY Fest of next year, but we will be playing probably within like 3 or 4 months. We're talking about it. We're actually been discussing like writing some new material first.
Nice,
so
nice.
That's kind of on the agenda first, is to write some new stuff. With Final Conflict, like those guys rehearse on the regular, and it's up to them to kind of come up with the ideas. And then they let me know, like, hey, we got some new, like sometimes if they go, hey, we decided to bring this old song back into the set list. And then I'll be like, okay, I'm going to come to rehearsal then. Like, yeah,
that makes sense.
Let's work it out. So that's like really what's on the agenda for us next is working on some new stuff. But we're going to, Final Conflict plays at least like, 4 times a year. Like it's, everybody in the group does other stuff,
Yeah.
My main focus is like the Brats is like my main like live playing. My main songwriting thing is the Brats, and then Clit45 is me playing bass in my friend's band. Like they asked me to join up with them. Like years ago in like 2003, I would fill in on bass for them. They would need a bass player, but I was never like a member. And now that the band is occasionally playing, they kind of said, hey, we want to have our friends in the fold. And you're kind of basically a band member anyway. Nice. You want to do this? And I was like, fuck yeah. Like, yeah, dude, I'm totally into doing this. And it's a lot of fun playing with those guys because I've known them for a really long time. Like when they were like young little troublemakers. And
Dave, no way. He was never a troublemaker.
No, dude, it's so funny when Dave's like, oh, hey, can we start rehearsal after 7? Because I got to watch my kids, and that cracks me up, like you're a dad, 2 kids, like, wow, that's awesome. Like that's like something I never thought I'd hear come out of his mouth. Like, hey, got to delay rehearsal because I got to watch the kids.
That's awesome.
know?
I really am happy to have met him. He's a really cool person, man. I like talking to Dave a lot, and you never know what you're gonna get when you meet somebody for the first time and like get to know them. So I was incredibly happy to meet him. I'm very fortunate to being able to hang out with you and talk to as many of the people as I'm talking to. It's pretty rad, man. So what I was gonna say is that maybe post PRB, if you want, we could jump on and talk a little bit more like direct with some topics. But I'd love to just kind of chat about the experience with punk rock bowling, especially since I've never been, and you'll probably have a whole completely different experience than I'm going to have. So if you have the time,
Yeah, no, I'm totally cool, and like we definitely will run into each other while we're there. And if you see me before I see you, don't hesitate to say hi. Like it'll be funny. Like I'll have somebody who like I'll communicate with on like my Instagram, and then they're at a show and they're like, "Oh, hey, I saw you at the show, but I didn't want to come up and bother you. You were talking to somebody." And I was like, "Believe me, if you were bothering me or I was busy, I'd tell you. Like, don't be afraid. Just come and say hi. Like you've chatted with me online, like, yeah, it would be nice to meet you in person."
Yeah, at this point, I will definitely come up and say hello.
Yeah, we've run into each other enough. I think that you're able to, like, because yeah, if I was like, I would tell you like, "Hey man, I'm in the middle of something right now, but
right.
let's hook up in a minute," or "Hey, just give me 5 minutes."
And what's wrong? And I don't see what's wrong with that. People get so bothered. I'm like, no, I would rather you just go, "Hey, give me a minute," or "Hey, can we hit up talk later?" Dude, that is super. I would rather you do that than me stand there and then turn out, oh, I didn't have any idea I was driving this dude crazy. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm not one of those guys that's like, "Hey, I'm busy hanging out with my popular band friend," like that. Who are you? Like, I'm not going to give someone that kind of treatment. I just
Thank God. Thank
That's
goodness
one of
for
the cool things is like about being able to do this and doing it for so long. Like, I've gotten to meet like by being in a band, I've gotten to meet like some like lifelong friends like of mine, like and some of the coolest fucking people. And I'm not looking for new friends, but I'm not opposed to like seeing, chatting with anybody. Like
right.
I'm not one of those guys that's like too cool for school, like I'm not, because I'm a fucking nerd. I still read comics. When I have 3 cats that I sing songs to, that I make up songs for them, they'll never
That's
be
awesome.
released, but like I'm a
That's
geek.
badass.
Like I'm not a cool guy. It's like that Descendants song, I'm not a cool guy anymore as if I ever was before.
Yeah.
You know?
Dude. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's like, no, I'm not a cool dude. I
Me neither.
like people to think I am, but yeah, just a fucking.
Dude, I used to own a comic book shop. I love that shit. That's awesome.
Dude, I've worked and ran comic book shops. Like, I just realized like I used to have insane long boxes full of stuff, and I got rid of it because I was just like, it's just stuff, But like,
I mean,
yeah,
that's the truth. That is true. It
some
is
of my
just stuff.
favorite, artists and stuff, like fucking and
All right.
writers,
That's it right there. That's a perfect segue to get up out of here. That's a great last question. What's your favorite comic book and your favorite like your title and then favorite comic book artist?
God, God, Daniel Brereton was one of my favorites. Mostly did covers.
Okay.
A lot of covers. And I'm gonna forget his fucking name. Another one though is Bill Sienkiewicz, was one of my favorites.
Yeah.
One of my all-time favorite comics is The Dark Knight and Dark Knight Returns, Frank Miller. It is that's when comics just went and said, enough of the kid shit. We're gonna write a book about if superheroes lived and they were real people, and that completely changed everything. Garth Ennis is one of my favorite writers. The Fire Preacher series, the Boys series, which
Garth Ennis is awesome.
Movies, and the Grant Morrison, the Watchmen.
Okay, yeah.
The graphic novel.
I'm a big fan of Image comic, modern. Speaking of modern comic, Image stuff is just, if you want story, that's where you go.
Yeah, those are all old Marvel guys that got tired of like not being able to own their ideas anymore.
Right.
Very
punk rock.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it.
And they started that company, but like, Spawn ended up being a dud. It just never went anywhere.
Oh, I love Spawn. I fucking love Spawn. My kid is named
I
after
love the
Spider-Man.
artwork and stuff, but it was just like it just took forever for anything to happen. You know?
Okay, you're not wrong about that, but
and the Michael Bendis Daredevil stuff was awesome too, man.
Brian Michael Bendis is awesome.
Yeah,
yes,
Bendis
dude.
Daredevil stuff was great. I love that.
You really are a comic book fan if you know Brian Michael Bendis' stuff, because that guy's like on the verge of being kind of known by everybody, but not. You'd have to be a comic book fan to know him.
Yeah, I really liked his arc with Daredevil. That like got me into Daredevil, where I was like, oh, this isn't hokey, you know, like what a great storyline, you know, like some dark stuff. I liked a lot of the dark Punisher stuff that was coming out too, like the Marvel Knights era.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
when they let Garth Ennis write and kind of reinvent the Punisher. It made him
he's a dark ass character, man. No,
yeah,
Daredevil and the Punisher should not be like okay for kids to read, in my opinion. It should be
they're
adult.
not.
It should be adult comic books.
And that's why like the Punisher movies I've always like ruined, like because they always like, no, he's not a good person. He is like completely irredeemable. And then you make him, oh, he has a heart in this way. He's like, no, not in the good comics. No, he's a vicious killing machine. He knows it. I think the Netflix series got close enough,
pretty
closest of anything to like how fucked up Frank Castle's character is, and I've been watching the Disney new Daredevil, and it's so far it's good, but I'm only a couple episodes in.
Dude, that's awesome.
What's his face as the Kingpin is just fucking amazing.
He's so good, Vincent D'Onofrio, however you say his last name.
That's it.
He
is made for that role as Kingpin. He is
so
good.
He really is.
Yeah,
man. What a fantastic conversation we've had tonight, Mr. Ron. That has been, I've had a blast.
No problem,
thank you.
Man. Thanks for your time.
Dude, likewise. Thank you for your time. I will see you in Vegas. Everybody out there is watching this. I know there's at least a handful of you guys still watching us ramble on about comic book stuff. So thank you for your time. Please like these videos. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. We're trying to hit 11K. Our 2-year anniversary will be right after this video drops. It'll be April 27th. So, yeah, thank you, everybody. Go check out all of his projects. We got Final Conflict, we got Lower Class Brats, and he's playing bass with Clit45. And what's your
my only social media is Instagram, and I'm just Ron Conflict.
Okay,
so it's pretty easy to find. It's just says got the character from the Phantom of the Paradise on it. But yeah, I think I'm the only Ron Conflict on Instagram. So,
well, my friend, it's been an absolute pleasure. I'll see you in Vegas, man.
All right, yeah, we'll hang.
Later, bud.
Bye.